Hi, my name is Yao Faustin Aziakpo. I'm going to do a quick presentation about the week 2 assignment regarding authentication and cryptography and encryption. So in the assignment has two parts. We have part one and part two. Part one is focused on the authentication, and I've written the code, the Python code as a one complete block to implement both function, which is here at the beginning of the Python code. You can see I imported the necessary library to make sure to bind the code to be able to execute successfully. And I'm going to attach to the say this code the explanation sheet, which is I name it as a README file, where I explain step by step each implementation through the code. So as I mentioned, part one, I separate the part one into a few session, and that few session I explain it here in my file where I have session one, which is a create user, and that create user, I apply some rule to the user and the password, the username and password, where the username must contain only letters and had to have at least four letters and cannot contain any space. And password, I define a rule for the password also that must have a certain number of characters and define the condition to implement the password at the code level and I have the validation function for the password and the username. So we can see all this in the code as a section. File handling and define the user, load user, and when I come down a little bit, this is where I implement the strategy of implementing the user name and the password for when the first one is implemented. The second function here, which is validate the definition is validate here, validate the username and according to the rule that I apply to it, and password also is being validated here according to the rule that I define in my explanation sheet. So once it's validated, now we have to I implement the password generate, and which is implemented here according to the rule that I have set here. So everything that I said so far is implemented through the code. And part one menu operation is the where the user is created and the user is create and with the password, and now we fall into the password, the user login. The user login, I define the attempt to log in case the user presents any password which is not correct. Is going to fail a kind of issue saying with the incorrect username or password here. So the user has to try it again. So the attempted, he had a three time to try the password and reset the password. So the reset the password is right here as I implement it is here in my I mention it here in my explanation sheet. So that's where the implementation of the part one is. So part two is focused on the cryptography and the encryption. So this function here store the password and the username and the store key. I define this function to handle the that particular area, and you can see from here where the username and password are stored and the encryption is happening. Sorry, we are stored and encrypted here. So now that I encrypt it, I think since I'm working as a cloud engineer what how we do it in the working environment. So since I've encrypted, so I plan ahead of time to have a decrypt or also function in case we need to see the real data in whoever is authorized to see the real data. I plan to elaborate that or that one also here. So as you can see, and encryption is applying to the username and the password, and the rule I define that rule also in the explanation here as you can see from here. Yeah, no, as you can see from here, as you can see from here till here to the encryption level and transposition where the encryption looks like a text, but it's not a text plain, it's not a plain text. So the decrypt level also I plan for it, as you can see from uh, the function in the code here. So in sum, I put everything together and everything bind to work. So the main function is here. Is reading through all the function I developed in the first place. So this is what I've done so far. And coming to my explanation sheet, you can see that I put everything as one block code which is responding to the part one and part two. So this is it, and then I kind of classify the part one and part two to light more on it by mentioning the user creating and validation, error messages, and return to menu when invalid, and part two is cover with menu interface, transposition, double transposition, single transposition, and decryption. So this is what I put together. Thank you for watching, and uh, uh, this is my presentation. Thank you.